Welcome to the official AFL Fantasy podcast with the Traders.
G'day with the Traders. Thanks to Sportsbet, I'm Roy. I coach Destroy, and I'm here with Warnie.
Coach of the Warn Dogs.
And Calvin.
Coach of Calvinator.
What is happening in here?
I don't know.
Calvinator, losing your voice now.
Yep. So I won't say much today.
I haven't listened to you.
I know. Too much cheering, Roy.
Well, you were cheering hard because, I don't know what there is to cheer about in these bye rounds because it's fair to say we haven't hit the first one the way that we would have liked to.
Glass half full, there's one down.
Yeah.
That's a positive.
And hopefully they get better from here.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to get any better from here. But anyway, it was a journey, that's for sure, as we'll find out in a minute. But as you flagged, Warnie, none of us nailed round one, that's for sure. So we talked about it being a time to attack. I feel like we got attacked.
We probably just haven't manoeuvred some things in the right way. So anyway, let's have a look. Let's get stuck into it. Calvinator, you can't talk, but you scored an 18.37, which was the best out of us.
Back to back. Well done.
How is that happening? So you're firing up the rankings to 16,850.
It's better than it was. That's good.
A positive. So well done. Better than going backwards. I went backwards about 500 spots or so, I think it was, with my 18.20. So I'm thinking that par mark for the top 10,000 coaches as such must have been about 1850 to 1900. And we'll look at some of the top scores in a moment, but some teams did have some pretty good weeks.
There were some thumping ones, and the sicko in me can only hope that they're up for a stinker or two in the next few weeks. But I got 18.14. The most disappointing thing is, structure-wise, this should have been a strong round for me, and that was enough to drop over 1,000 spots to basically 2.5.
Ouch. But there's a lot of movement that can be made, I think. That's the thing. That's where these weeks, over the 4 weeks, treat them as a whole. Not a dark whole, but we could treat them as a big group, a big cluster of one big round.
Yep,
is probably the best way to go, because those couple of 100 points that we may not have got compared to some of those better teams, well, hopefully those better teams aren't as good when it comes to the latter rounds.
Here it is! That's what you did, Jenny. You stuck it right up them.
Right, Sunday afternoon, I had a choice to make. Follow Team Calvinator with his suggestion that Tim Taranto should be my number one ruck, or take it on, hit a 6. Yes, Calvin?
What do you want me to say?
I hit a 6 and I went with Zach Merrett as my skipper, 155. So got a bonus 25 points there, which did keep me out of the green vest. So it was an amazing first quarter with what he did there. 68 points, just absolutely racked up. And then they put some attention into him, but it wasn't enough to stop him, because 155 obviously is a super score, second highest of the round. So that was a win for the Warn Dogs.
No, he was very good. So he had 16 touches, 2 marks, 2 tackles, 2 goals. You'd be happy with that from some of our players.
I was timesing that
game.
by 4.
That's fair enough.
And then doubling that.
He looked like he could get 200. So obviously Shield, he's an old
will
man,
this year.
but
He'll get.
He's a bloody, he is a good shutdown player. And that's the best he could do. 155. Merrett looked fantastic, and he has
Zach
for a
will
couple
get
of
a
weeks
200. So they do get to play West Coast and North Melbourne again.
Gosh, he's definitely going to hit another 150. My +3 went to, as I've spoken about before, I love when a player can come in on debut, especially one that's underpriced, and ton up. And one hole replaced another hole. Darcel Cameron variety pumped out 109 in a gimme matchup, albeit against the West Coast Eagles. However, you can only rock up and ton up against who fronts up, and he did it versus the Eagles, +3.
Now, Calvin, speak on your behalf there. Unless you got your Hector Salamanca ready to go, you can give us some ticks or whatever. But you had your Sicily issue last week, and you moved him on. And you went to Dawson, so that was a good move there. 128 in a game where points weren't really flowing, especially for the players that we thought they would be. It was, a nice 128 for that.
So he's a player we all need to have sooner
100%.
rather than later, straight after his bye.
Has to be your number one target off that round 14 bye. We'll talk about some bye trading strategy later.
It was the most disgraceful display I've ever seen.
Because it's just not acceptable.
We'll stick with you, Calvinator. Your -3 came from that same game. Rory Laird, 81.
What a disappointment. So last week, I comfortably put him to number one in the roll on 22.
Ouch.
Comfortably number one, coming off back-to-back 131s, looking back to his best over what appeared, I still can't put my finger on it, but over whatever had happened to him earlier in the season with the calf and the fatigue and the heat and all those little things, but that 81 just once again didn't look right. And looking at it under a microscope, I watched an interaction between Nicks, who'd come down to talk to them on the bench, and Lairdy, who was a very regular attender of the Pine, and his time on ground was down and his calf was heavily strapped. But that 81, I think it needs further investigation, especially for you, Cow, because it looks like he has a good matchup VC and C-wise this week.
Well, he does.
But whether or not you can go there after that, I am not sure. But yeah, his Cow's -3.
I'll go with mine was the bye rounds in general, but specifically the round 13 byes where we thought we were looking at our Suns and our bloody Cats to get us through, and we went heavy. I did anyway. I went pretty heavy with my Suns, thinking that this would work as a strategy. The last 2 weeks have really shown that, and our -3s from last week where we had Fiorini and Atkins there.
God.
They're both basically there again. Atkins, I'll let him pass because he actually junked a little bit in the end of the game, but Fiorini can cop that 60 because he was the guy that I would never, ever pick. So he's there. I think Darwin in general, and this is the other side of that one, I'll put in my bloody Matt Rowell, who I picked up this week, thinking that was the right thing to do. Should have just played the game normally. Should have just played and just worn donuts or worn poorer scores because they would have made up the points in the other weeks. But up in Darwin, it's just not great conditions. So the Suns are going along all right this year, fantasy-wise as well. But they averaged 100 points less from their 2 games in Darwin compared to what they did in the first 10 rounds of the season. So, not good. So, Fiorini, Rowell, all of them.
Will we ever learn?
That.
Like, seriously, just stupidity. Seems like such a good idea at the time. Anyway, my -3, I never thought I would see the day where I would do this, but he's forced my hand. After a flying start, Sam Walsh ended up on 55, which is his equal worst score of his career.
Wow. Oh, really?
Of his career.
Even debut season type scores.
So he got off to a flying start and then God knows what happened. Ended up on 55.
Yep.
Devastating.
A team that didn't struggle this week was Tyson's team, a game of Sloane, who was the winner for the week, 21-33. So that is 300 points more than us. Just nailed all those ones. The Dawson 120, Dacos, Stewart, Bailey Dale in there for a 118.
Oh, handy.
Throw on all the other names. Made Zach Merrett his captain. Obviously had Tim English as well.
Bang, bang.
Just right across the board, it was looking good. Taranto, Butters, Cornelio, Rosie, all tons there. And then I think some of the stories of the week as well were some of those rookies that actually stepped up there, like Jacob Van Rooyen. He was a 77, and that counted in his score because he did drop off some other scores here. So well done to Tyson and the game of Sloane. Good team name. Now, at the top of the table is Jonathan's team, Fleabaggers. So that's sort of sitting out there. I'm not going to say comfortable in front. Got a couple of points on the pack. Our mate, Matt Mottram, up into 5th. He's having a great year. But Carter's team, Wood Army, is the one that's currently sitting in 100th spot overall. 26,358 points is what you're chasing at the moment. So that gap is extending on where I am. So what's our goal from here? Where do we want to finish? What are we saying?
I just need
You'd
to
be
get
top 1,000,
I'll
Roy.
get back in top 1,000. And I think I'll do it, and that is my goal.
I think a top 5,000 would be nice. And Calvinator, top 10?
Yep.
Oh, he's gone with the voice. Well done, mate. Backed yourself in. And like having been there a couple of weeks ago,
Good.
you never quite know what's going to come
your
out.
brain works as well, I reckon.
You've got a journey ahead of you, mate. Wait till you know your voice is back, but you don't know if it's going to ball squeak or what. She's nerve-wracking times.
Around 12 votes for the Michael Barlow medal, the cash cow of the year. We saw Will Phillips score a 90 in the last game of the round, 27 disposals, 6 tackles and a goal. It was bounced the right way for him, that one. That's back-to-back 5-vote games for him. Now, Josh Weddle scored 80, a cracking game collecting 25 disposals and a couple of high-flying marks. He racked up late in the game in that one. Cade Chandler also scored an 80. He was busy. Kicked 3 behinds, so it could have been a bigger score. One of those nice ones that you can cop on a bye round, getting that from them. And 2 votes goes to Dylan Williams. He scored 78. He picked up DPP last week because of that back roll that he's doing. Does not mind a mark and kick +6. He took 9 marks against the Hawks. And Jacob Van Ruin, 77 points he scored, 7 marks, kicked a goal as well. That's his highest score of the year. So definitely got that when it counted. 6 of his 10 scores have been sub 50, so that's where you know you've done all right. That leaderboard has She's Allowed on 44 votes, still with Ashcroft on 25. Chandler and Phillips moved up to 10 votes in that one.
Here's the news of the week you need to know on the official AFL Fantasy podcast.
Few of the issues out of the round that are going to affect coaches. In that last game there, Simpkin and Greenwood both concussed, and both have been options to pick up. I think Simpkin a couple of weeks ago, people sort of saw some value in him, and then Greenwood was one of the popular options last week to get, and he was looking good too. That was the thing. He was on track for his ton, so it was looking like a nice pick. They'll both miss next week because of the concussion protocols, so not ideal in the bye rounds, and that's the thing that makes it very hard to get ahead, because
100%.
you were expecting them to be there, especially those guys for the round 15 bye. You needed the next 2 weeks out of them. I will say, though, this week is probably the week where you can afford these trades.
Yeah.
Like, it is one of those things where it might be not okay, but better than what it could be at another time. So that's something out of that. Now, in that same game, Shield hurt his calf again, so he's sort of in and out of that side, not looking good. McGrath and Hobbs both copped it. They went off the ground at various times, but they were back on quickly, so they played out the game. The Eagles copped it, though. They had Shannon Hearn go down with a hamstring, West with a knee, and Hewitt was concussed from that hit from Jordan De Goey. Now, the Pies, Hoskin Elliott has an ankle issue, McCreary a foot, and Johnson a corky. One to watch there for selection, because they did have that debutant Harvey Harrison, who may be fortunate enough to stay in that side based on just issues that they've got. Ed Richards, he did a hammy. Now, Adam Treloar in that game, Adam Treloar being Adam Treloar, we saw him spit the goo. I think it was in the first quarter, wasn't it? He's come off. You thought there was a big issue for him. He's thrown the mouth guard and all of that, but only to get him back out on the ground and do all right. Jake Bowie
He had
was
130, didn't he?
Yep. Jake Bowie was concussed on Friday night. Silvani, a bit of a hip injury for him. And Brent Daniel, a hamstring. Now, Bailey McDonald was a late in for his debut for Seamus Mitchell, who was out with illness. Now, we thought that he might have had an issue with a bit of a knee type thing from last week, but that was, he was out. And McDonald came in. Could be another little cash cow rolling through there for that. Then, sad news, our fantasy ambassador, Tom Duday, knee up there in Darwin early in the game, and they've ruled him out for the season now. So
That's disappointing.
sad news.
Good
for him.
bloke, Tom.
MRO, Jordan De Goey has been sent straight to the tribunal. So that's 3+ weeks is what they cop for that. So, that's what it comes out in the formula. So see what that looks like. But yeah, he now has to be a must trade, because I think he's getting at least one, and then he's got the bye the next week. So you do need to move him on. And Liam Duggan a week as well after a big game too. He was very good last week.
Yep.
He's just he's in some form and been a pretty decent player. So unfortunate for coaches that have had that. They've been lucky that they've got the scores from them though. That's the good thing. Now, just a couple of Magoo's news. Carlton, Roy. Are they in? How much trouble are they in? Are they going to make some wholesale changes here?
Mate, they're in a world of hurt. Traditionally, over the years, when teams are in this much trouble, they do make wholesale changes. So, yeah, potentially.
Could we see Jackson Binns then? That's the question.
Well, Binns, yes, he's every chance. He's been spoken about since he's been available to come into that senior side. So, every chance this week, and he went all right, didn't he?
Scored 123 from 34 disposals and 9 marks. So,
knocking on the door then.
To watch, although Paddy Dow, does he stay in the 22?
He didn't really do anything wrong, but he didn't exactly grasp his opportunity with both hands either. So that's a wait and see. Who would know what they do? Who would seriously be able to predict what they do at Carlton?
It's going to be a big game Sunday night.
Massive.
Bombers and Blues.
Massive flogging, probably.
Hope so. Not on the wrong end, though.
I won't be making a bet this time with you, that's for sure.
Flanders for the Suns scored 139, Sitters 109, and Constable 107. Now, there is the reset. They won, but they've got the bye. There is the reset. Could we see some change there? Do we sat on, sweating on our Atkins and our Fiorini last week.
They're safe.
They're safe.
They're safe.
There's just definitely not conditions in Darwin for those guys. Clutching at straws, old mate Fleeton, who's sitting on my bench, and I wouldn't mind an extra body on. He had a 104 in the VFL on the weekend. Now, I didn't mind this, though, from Quinton Narkle. So he was picked up in the mid-season draft from Essendon after averaging 83 in the VFL during the year. So he's gone to Port Adelaide, played his first game for them, slotted straight in with a 29 disposal, 7 marks, 7 tackle game, and 123 in the Sandful. So very solid numbers. If he's needed,
God, way to put your hand up.
432K, though, as a midfielder. If he was basement, that would be very nice. But because he'd obviously played before, it's all based on that. And West Coast, with all those injuries, had a look there. So they had a late change there with Barras out. And, yeah, so that's what sort of brought Hewitt into the team as well. Who are their next emergencies on the list? Chesser, 62 in the waffle. Zane True, 45. But
he's still a chance.
He's still a chance, yeah. So he's probably sitting there as a red dot for a lot of coaches as well. All right, they're the Magoo's news. You can always be checking those out on afl.com.au. Easy way to get into those is what I've been doing, afl.com.au/VFL/waffle/Sandful.
Good idea.
And you can get into the stats, into the live match centres too, and you can be watching those games, which is always very hard. Now, this weekend is a big weekend. It's a long weekend because we do start footy on Thursday night. And that is the Swans and the Saints. So interesting from that when we talk some trades and strategy in that very shortly, is that it is a Thursday night game. You might have to lock in a move first up. And it's actually an even earlier start than normal. It's a 7:10 start this week. So
talk about putting the pressure on.
That is Eastern time, obviously. So if you're over in WA, that's 5:10. Hopefully you get yourself. You might have to stay back from work a little bit later for that game.
Make a trip to the toilet, I think.
Anyway, so that's coming up, but it goes all the way through to Monday. So it is 5 days worth of footy for our 8 games of footy because it's only the 2 teams on the bye, Geelong and Gold Coast. Now, Monday is a big day. It's all about the Fight MND game that we do have, the big freeze at the G. To fight MND is an all-in fight. Together we must join the battle against the beast that is MND. Now, it's the 9th year and the louder and stronger than ever. Fight for nil, fight for those who have fought and continue to fight for a cure. So you can grab your beanie, go and grab that Coles Express, Bunnings. You can even get it online there as well. And if you are heading to the game, you make sure you're wearing it there as well. So we all need to fight together, all in. Fight MND.
Cal Toomey here. Join me and Riley Beveridge each week for Gettable, the definitive source for everything you need to know about player movement, trade, draft, free agents, contracts, the ins and outs of who is Gettable. We'll share the off-field stories that will shape your team's future on the field Get Gettable, available round 1 wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, issues for the week. We've got a lot. We've got a few. Let's just start with our bye round strategy and getting tricked into the Suns.
Right, I've called it the solar eclipse.
Right.
They've completely gone missing. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And now, upon reflection, it is China game all over again. Like, we just didn't learn, or if we did learn it so long ago that we've unlearned it, forgotten it. Anyway, there's some dudes that we are potentially stuck with now, especially if you are relying on them to cover all your premiums, especially in round 15. But, you know, if you can scrape together 18, it might be worth getting rid of these guys anyway. So there's a few guys I want to have a chat to you about, Dog. The ones that they're no lock in your side. You probably could move them on, but for some people, they may still have a role. What are your thoughts on Rats?
Okay, can I just talk in general?
Yeah.
I'm just happy to move on all the Suns.
Yeah.
When I bought them, I thought they might have been there for around 14 and 15 for me. And probably part of my planning was that.
Yes.
But, nah, gone. Rat's gone.
Look, I'm going to flag one thing. They're not playing in Darwin again next game. So Rat will be back. He's capable of 80.
I think the issue
Not
with
in
Rat,
those conditions.
The issue with the Rat was probably the role as well. So he did push back later in the game and junked up a little bit as well to get himself to a respectable, what was it, 66 that he ended up having in that. I think he may have even taken a kick in as well. But
he definitely takes a couple. Now
that's what he wasn't doing last week and this week. Like, it was a complete role change for him. He was further up the ground.
So Rat in a wing halfback role can score 80 in other conditions. So same with Fiorini.
Is that enough though? That's the other question for it now.
It's enough for a green dot to scrape together 18. But I'm happy for people to trade Rat. I'm happy for people to trade Fiorini. Now, gets a little bit more difficult when you start talking about Rowell, who some people got him in last week, and they are considering pulling the trigger straight away after like a good game in terms of clearance and a few contested possessions. His tackles were good again. I think he laid 7. But a score of 75 is not enough. And if you're looking to flick a premium to get 18 or 19 on the field this week, he deserves to come under consideration to go.
Yeah, I think you can move him if that does work for you. For me, and this is, I guess, part of my bigger picture strategy, is that I'm not trading someone that I have got into my team to be a premium, which he was, and it was a low-end premium, obviously. But you're trading rookies and mid-prices around them. So, for example, for me, and we'll talk about our trades more in detail later on, but I've got Rat, I've got Fiorini. They can go for me.
Yeah.
They go before a Matt Rowell does, and like a Pedler goes.
Yeah.
Like, they're all rookies, they're all mid-prices, they're all the guys that you do move before someone. Because I think one of the bigger picture things people have got to do as well is, what does your team look like at round 16? And some strategy that I've done over the years because of the nice click and drag feature that you do have on the desktop site. Each week of the buys, you can put your team and make it look what it would look like for round 16. So if it was round 16 now, how does it look? Where have you got your rookies on the field or your biggest holes? And they're the ones that you need to look at. Like, that's where you find that some people won't have any rookies now, or hopefully won't have any by the time we get to round 16 as well on field when you're putting your best 22 on the park. So if Rowell is able to be moved because of that, because of your strategy there, but if you're playing a rookie on field, if you're playing another mid-pricer that hasn't really hit their numbers, they go first, I think. Like, ideally, not ideally, but I'm thinking if Rowell ends up as my M8 after the buys, then that's fine. Or even M7, because I probably will be rocking with Wardlaw at 8, for at least the first week or two, I reckon, after the buys.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, fair call. I'm a hold for Rowell. I think that was a disappointing performance, but he has those every now and then. So he'll be back next time he plays. Now, Witts is an annoying one because people got him, especially that were in the Darsole situation, they got him to see them through the buys. That was a disappointing hit out the other day, but I'm thinking you probably got him purely for, out of the rest of the options, purely for the buys. So I'd probably say hang in there, and then when English comes off his buy, that would be your move.
The only one that you could have is if you didn't have Marshall, for example.
Yes.
I'd be okay going Witts to Marshall if that was the other one because he's coming off his bye.
The disappointing thing is the two best options are probably not available to you. That's why you got Witts. So Darcy Cameron and Briggsy would be great options for Witts. But the reason you got Witts is probably because you needed him over the next couple of weeks. So probably stick with it. Take a couple of 90s, hopefully, and then trade him to English, who I assume would be your target for most people in the Witts situation. Kapow, see you later.
He can just go.
Yeah, load him up and go.
He had a 55, and that just wasn't pretty. And
bad conditions for him as well. Bad conditions for all those half-backs and stuff, but...
Like Darcy McPherson was another one who had a 42 that just
you
thought might have... Well, they were all players that we looked at, and we've called it. We've been trying to buy it again.
We have.
Something to learn. Like, what do we learn out of this for next year?
Well...
Are we better to take... Like, we got these players because we thought they would help us over the buys.
If the two games weren't in Darwin, we wouldn't be in this situation. It just didn't suit the way those guys play.
And obviously, it's a long way from the 2024 fixture, but
Yeah.
it's a fair chance it'd be around this time because it's probably what makes it fit because the Indigenous round is prior to that. And
so, those guys just can't play.
But then they may not even be on that same buy either. It may not work like that.
May not.
We just have to find... This is probably the next part of it. It's still a tricky week to trade. So we get our 3 trades. We're fielding our best 18 as we have... over the 4 bye rounds. But we're now looking at teams. What we should be trying to do, best strategy is targeting players coming off their bye. So trade out players that are on their bye or got an upcoming bye for a player off their bye. So we've got Brisbane, Fremantle, St Kilda and Sydney all coming off their bye. But are there many names that are shouting out to us going, we must have them?
Not a heap shouting, but a heap that are viable, I reckon. So... we'll have a look at the Lions first. The one, everyone's obviously, most have Dunkley. If you don't, he'd be a great target. But Neale is someone who has shown enough over the past few weeks to put his hand up.
Yep.
I don't think he's an exciting option, but I think he's a good price
that
for
low
what he will produce.
Is it's buyable.
100% it's buyable. And you're probably not going to want him at the end of the season. Once you get to luxury trade time, he's someone you'd send up to a big boy. But he's a good price. And apart from him really at the Lions, I don't think there's anyone else to have a look at.
No. And that is probably one of the issues for them, that they won't give us anything. I've tried hunting. I've even tried to find some value, but there's nothing.
Dockers
really.
are a happier hunting ground.
They are. Well, you've got 2 big dog premium midfielders, don't you?
This is where it's a bit more exciting. So starting in the midfield there, Brayshaw and Sarong are both in the rolling 22 at the moment. And Brayshaw would be my pick of the 2, but Sarong... is obviously the better value. I think Cow said yesterday it's about 60k difference between the 2. I still rate Brayshaw over Sarong, but Sarong is having quite an underrated season, really. He's a viable option. Now,
no issue having both of them as well in your team?
No, I don't think so. I think you can have them both. Hayden Young is the value play down back. He had a really disappointing start to the year, but... his price is down as a result, and he's strung a few games together. So I don't mind Hayden Young.
What about his teammate there? Would you look at Ryan, or you've got Young ahead of Ryan?
I'm a bit disrespectful of Ryan, so maybe someone else should answer that.
He's had a great year. So he's averaging 99.5 on the dot.
Sensational.
102, 83, 94, 102, 73. Like, nothing huge to write home about. I think what you can be probably saving... and that's probably the key to that, I guess, by going by going with Hayden Young. So $7.99 he is. Oh, right. So he's cheaper than what I thought he'd be, actually.
Gosh, for that average, it's
Yeah.
pretty. That's a bargain price, and
Yeah.
he's a guy who you
It's
feel
the same
like.
price, essentially, $1,000 difference.
There you go. So you feel like you know what you're going to get with him. It sort of feels like a safer play than Young, but I'd be leaning towards Young. For some
We
reason.
would have had, and this is one of the decision-making factors, where'd I have him at the start of the year?
You had
And
Young ahead. didn't
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
So that's probably the thing, and that's a little bit like going back to the Brayshaw and Sarong one.
Yeah.
Had Brayshaw there, and Brayshaw did it last year, and hopefully he can continue. This is the time, I think, of the season where these midfielders hit it up a bit
Yeah.
more.
Now, if you cast your mind back to last year, there was a week where Big Maxi Gone was
1 week.
out, and we all jumped on Luke Jackson, and he absolutely killed it. And last week, we saw him play really well with once Darcy went down, and he had a really impressive score. He's actually strung together quite a few good games. Now, I've copped a few questions asking whether to bring Jackson in, and I'm a no for a couple of reasons. One is because his form has been better than, I thought until I crunched some numbers. He's actually quite expensive now. And two, I don't think Darcy's that far away. I don't think the hamstring was as severe as
Big
first
fella
thought.
does seem to come back all right.
He does. So
Quicker than you think.
I'm a no on it because what if Darcy does come
I couldn't
back
do that.
even after missing one more week? Even though Jackson's been good, he's too expensive to go there, I think, given all the risks. Now, at the Saints, you have to throw Jack Steele's name off there. Like when we looked at the buys at the very start of the year, we said, oh, that'll be the time to launch into Jack Steele. I have no confidence. 1 week I am, the next week I'm not. Where do you sit on Jack Steele?
I like him still. I think the thing that puts me off at that 851K, you've got Neale, but again, start of the season, who were you picking? Still well and truly
100%.
over Neale, and it's about 20K difference, I think, around about what it is. It's just that he's coming off that 78, but the week before, it was a 121.
I thought he was back.
So, yeah, I'm hoping for him the buy's just what he needed because he's had those couple of little niggles.
Yeah.
He missed a few weeks there earlier in the season.
Could you
that was
launch
with his
straight
shoulder,
into
wasn't
it? Would you want to
It's
see
a
one more?
It's a gutsy play to launch straight into it, but I think you could.
It's just a bargain price. It's a guy that we had well and truly embedded in the top three when we projected the mids at the start of the season. So he's one to watch. Sinclair's one to watch as well. He's been funny. He's a hard read. Obviously, his ceiling in that is still there. His role fluctuates a little bit, and his scoring has probably reflected that. Could you get Sinclair straight in off
At
that?
8:30,
Like, that's a bargain price for what we thought he was going to be.
it's
too.
ceiling sort of stuff that he
It
can
is.
do. Yeah, there's just no confidence.
No.
This is the thing. I'm just not going in any confidence with those guys. at
No,
all.
I'm more confident in what you're going to get from the Swans.
Right,
Now,
okay.
Errol, there's still a few people that don't have Errol, and when you
He's
talk
almost
about
the must-have, isn't he?
I think he is. So he's been very consistent, but he's also got that ceiling, and he can pump you a 150 on any given week. So I tick off Errol as a trade target. Another one who is quite a good price is Warner.
Yeah.
Now, he started the season poorly, a bit well worse than what we thought he was going to be, but he's come good
Had
the
a
last
61
5
and a
weeks.
56 in round 2 and 3.
Yeah, so he'd be averaging, I think it's 107, 108 over his last 5. So he's ready to go. And, you like both, do you?
What's Calvin got to say?
Who's this year? Who's these numbers you've got? Chad Warner. Yeah, so there you go. 105, 115, 104, 99, 113.
Yeah.
So he, as I said, yeah.
Thanks, Hector.
Thanks for getting that up for me. So Warner is killing it. And a guy I'm looking at for instant reward this week is Lloyd.
Because they've got the the Saints matchup.
They certainly do. So I am one for instant reward and then worrying about the rest after that.
So I guess what's nice about Jake Lloyd is basically what he's coming off. So he had a big score there of 123 against the Blues. 66 against North Melbourne, that's disappointing. But a 95, 108, 101, so 4 out of 5 ain't bad there. And
it's certainly not.
With what he can do, and obviously it's that matchup coming up.
You kind of got to ask yourself, with a trade like that, instant reward should be there, like 120, potentially 120 plus.
Yeah.
Is he, come around 1670, is he a guy you're going to look at and get a bit of sick in your mouth thinking, how did I end up in this position with Lloyd?
You could.
Or is he someone you're going to look at and go, hey, it's Lloydie. He does his thing. He might have one off week, but he's going to come back the next week.
He could be that D6 guy for you, which he has busted out a few hundreds this year. But
Lloyd at D6.
I think
I'd be happy with that.
And a big part of it too, this is another, there's a lot of factors that go into your buy-around trading, but the fixtures he's got, so the Saints, he's got them this week, so obviously an easy one. Got Brisbane, don't know where that sits on the scale of hardness, but I would say that he's round 15, which is a buy-around, which could be a round where people might be down a few premiums. You want a ceiling score from someone, and he's got the Eagles.
Wow. He could
so
save
that's where
bacon.
you could, and that's where a swan in general against the Saints and the Eagles could get you those 10 plus points on their average against those teams because they're playing against them. So that might factor into some of your decision making, because a bigger ceiling score in a buy round means a lot more than during the season, I would say, because of what that can get you on top.
Cover you.
So that might be some factors there. Now, I want to go through a couple of cheaper names out of these guys because we probably need a downgrade. Now, there are a couple that are coming through, and we can talk about like the Harvey Harrison, who plays for Collingwood, made his debut, scored 54. He's got the round 14 bye, as does Bailey McDonald, who's the defender for the Hawks. They played. Josh Fay's another one. Does he finally get out of that vest? His average of 12 still sits him at 200k because he's been in the vest
nice
those 2
break
games.
even, I'm sure.
What does that break even look like now? I haven't even looked at that.
Isn't that a funny
70.
thing? Isn't that a funny thing that, like, obviously their price doesn't go down, but they become less and less attractive with that break even.
So the cheaper options, and again, if you want to stick to some good buy strategies, getting someone coming off their buy, and a guy coming through here, Matthew Johnson, he is at 349, so a little bit more than what you might like to pay. He is coming off a 68, and so he's sort of got rid of that vest as well now. Well, hopefully he has. We do reset after the buys, but that's coming off his season high score. He's at 349, midfielder. I like him as an option. He's actually going to come into my side, I think, just to get me through the buys now.
I don't
as one of
mind
those value picks.
It's funny. It's like one of the few times where I'm comfortable spending up for a rookie if it looks like they have consolidated spot in the side, they've got access to decent points, like him nearly hitting a 70 in his last.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. Good cash gen, handy through a buy round. It just ticks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, now there are a few others, as we mentioned those guys before, but players that are in that 200 to 300k range. Ryan Marrick, does he get a game for West Coast with all their issues? He was the mid-season draftee at 200k forward status. Phoenix Spicer had a good game against the Bombers on Sunday. He scored a 59, considering what he's done in his previous games, 23, 48, 5, and then that 59. So he's at a price. He's got the round 15 bye. Josh Sin, so he's again another round 15. He started as a sub. Does he get into the team?
Maybe.
He might, so that's one there. But otherwise, the cupboard is quite bare.
It is. I like the thought of Sin because he's a name that we were talking about heavily in the pre-season. So when they start to pop their head up during the year, I really pay attention.
Be handy if your mate Angus Sheldrick came through as well. So he's coming off the buy, the mid-forward status for him as well.
He'd have a break even on him too, I reckon, Sheldrick. God. Anyway.
Yeah. He would.
He would.
What is it? Let me have a look.
Don't look at it, please. Don't.
62. Not as high.
Oh, that's all right.
Oh, Josh,
yeah,
mate.
no, it's not. Good on him.
Right.
Good on you, Rick.
Let's have a look then at the most traded players so far. Early doors ahead of round 13. Harvey Harrison is the most traded in at the moment. Then it comes Bailey McDonald, Josh Fay, Ryan Marich, and then Lachie McAndrew, which I'm not necessarily confident he's going to be there. So there's a lot of value in those picks. No, that's me doing that on the wrong thing. Right, I'm going to edit that bit out because I kept the filter on. Let's have a look at the most traded in players ahead of round 13 with what coaches have done early doors. Harvey Harrison there at the top, then Bailey McDonald, Andy Brayshaw as the premium pick that most people will get if they don't have him, I reckon. Josh Fay, Lachie Neale is in there. A couple of other players worth noting in there coming off their bye, like a Caleb Sarong, the Matthew Johnson cheap play there.
Yep.
I guess that's going to be the number one strategy for a lot of coaches, maybe finding that value, but then finding the premium to pick up off their bye.
100%.
Now, the most traded out, Rory Atkins is there, Luke Pedlar, Alex Chincotta, Brayden Fiorini and Seamus Mitchell. So a couple of boys on their bye there, Atkins and Fiorini, that we've been thinking about and wanting to trade. Further down the list, though, people get Hugh Greenwood, might have been a one-week play for people with that concussion. Jordan De Goey as well. And Harry Sheasel's even on the list of people trading out. So quite a few people are doing that. Not happy with his 64 and think that he's done his job.
Yeah.
Happy to keep him at the moment.
I'm happy to keep him at the moment, but yeah, I'd be looking to trade him personally in round 15, but I can understand why other people are doing it now.
Right, let's look at our trades. I'm going to read yours out for you, Calvin. You look like you're getting rid of Artie Jones, Fiorini and Rowell to get in Sin, Humphrey and Goulden. Interesting strategy, getting a guy on their trade.
Yep, no, he's hitting sixes.
Finally getting Goulden after you've been fighting against that all season.
Yep.
Right. I'm getting rid of Fiorini, Atkins and Pedlar. So 2 blokes on the bye, 1 bloke who's done his job as a rookie, and bringing in Neale, Fife and Johnson. Now, Nat Fife we didn't talk about before, but at $450K,
that's a good name
he's
for that price.
He's getting midfield clock.
There were a lot of players in that price range that were good buy strategy trade-ins that were successful last week. So there you go, Dog. Good luck to you.
Right, what are you doing, Roy?
My outs are Zeeble, Kennedy and Atkins, and I'm going to bring in Sarong, Briggsy and Yoey.
Elliot Yeo.
Elliot Yeo, yeah.
How's that setting up for your future buys?
It's helping me significantly.
That's good. That's good strategy.
Got a question for the traders? Tweet the boys at AFL Fantasy or head to facebook.com/AFL Fantasy Official.
Alrighty, let's hit up some questions there, Calvinator. Will you be able to give us a tick with anything that you get out of these? Right. Thanks to see if you tick
Hopefully
these
no one ran
moves
off the road with
off.
that. That really pierced my ear.
All right, let's have a look. So you can hit us up on Twitter at AFL Fantasy and also our Instagram account. We'll be having, we'll put some things out there for you to ask some questions during the week as well, which is always good because having questions from people is an important part of the show.
Drives the content.
Jono, I'm trying to get Andy Brayshaw in. Who goes out? Is it Humphrey or Warple?
It's a good question. I'm getting rid of Warp.
Same. And I think it's about the buy strategy with that too, because Warple probably should go next week. Humphrey, you've got more coin to make out of him, and he's going to be there for those last 2 rounds.
Agree.
This round's an easier way to get through. Yeah. You can lose Warple this week.
Yep.
And while you're not getting a Humphrey score,
No.
probably shouldn't
Hey,
matter.
like, I assume you're covering that easy enough with 19 or 20 players.
Should I get any Eagles players? Well, Roy, you're bringing in Yo, so you like Yo as an option.
Oh, well, you can never say you like Yoey, but he's definitely an option. And no disrespect, it's not that I don't like Yoey as a person. It's the fact that he's so injury prone over the last few years. Lots of soft tissue stuff. But through the buys, at that price, watching him on the weekend, he went in beast mode. Bigger, stronger Yoey. So I am willing to take the risk through the buys with him, yes.
Can we trade Sheasel? Yeah,
Yes, you
I'm
can.
happy to hold to the buy, though. And thoughts on Chad Warner? Yep. Is he the best of the Swans?
Well,
Or Goulden
I mean,
probably
Goulden doesn't share the same value, but of a cheaper guy, yeah, Warner's a great pick.
Kendall's got this one. Nat Fife worth a shout. Yep. It comes with a fair bit of risk though, but it's limited at $4.50.
He's cheap. Like we're talking about
he
paying
was having
up for
40% CBAs in the last 2 weeks, which is what it is. The scores weren't there. The fantasy scores weren't there. But coming in, easing in,
yes,
a week off.
I'll be going
sign
nowhere near it personally. But
2-year contract extension.
Yep. Ticks those boxes.
All right. Sheasel versus Zeeble to go. Here you go.
It's another good question. I'm going Zeeble first because he's got more money on his head. Get rid of that before it drops off. And then by round 15.
Aaron's got this one. With Greenwood now out with concussion, is Tarryn Thomas a good addition for an F6 or an M6?
He's another cheap play. Yeah. He definitely slotted in really well. And at that price, Thomas is an option. Let alone the fact that, those boys are out. So he's coming in, he's still under 500,000. 492 bargain.
If he didn't have the off-field issues in the preseason, he would have been in our starting side.
Yeah, definitely would have been. The only bad thing about bringing him in is the fact that he's got that bye to come. Other than that, if it works for you, do it.
Emerson, why do we play through the bye rounds? Yeah. It's nice to turn your leagues off, especially in draft. I see some draft leagues playing through the byes.
That's a sicko move.
If you do want to, there is the ability to be a commissioner. You can adjust scores. So you might just take the top half a dozen scores from your teams during the byes or something. You got to decide that before the season starts, though. I don't think you can be doing that now.
Survival of the fittest there in those leagues. Good on them.
Right. There's been a couple of Tarryn Thomas ones, probably because of the time that this went out there on a Sunday night. Most overrated player for AFL Fantasy. Calvin.
Most overrated. Ding. That's a good question.
Overrated this year? That is a good question. Probably should have thought about that one.
Well, there's a few players in the mix, isn't there? So one that we talked about as a potential trade target, we talked up Jack Steele a lot during the preseason, even touted as top 2, let alone top 3 projected players in the game, let alone midfield players in the game. So he would have to be, he'd have his hat in the ring at the moment.
Yep.
God, that sounds so harsh. Man of steel, but it's probably warranted.
Is Dom Sheed a legit trade target right now for Aiden?
Yes. If you look at the numbers and not his name, he's getting huge numbers. They're getting flogged and he loves it.
2 130s in the last 3 weeks.
If he was coming off his bye, I would say yes.
Yeah.
With always being able to hide behind getting him out in a round 15 bye or something. But I wouldn't be looking at him now, personally.
Ethan's got this one. Is Juicy Briggsy the next Juicy Prusy?
No, he's way better than Prusy.
Isn't he? He's a confident bloke out there.
Yeah, he is. And like we talked about last week, he's had a unique pathway. So elite ruck as a junior, come in, couldn't get a game. So versatile that he could actually play defence as well. Then he moves back into the ruck, and he's a complete player. You look at his tackling and stuff like that. He's an animal out there. He's big enough to get his 30 hit-outs a game, no matter his opponent. Doesn't mind pushing forward and kicking a snag. He's a bargain. Don't ever tarnish him with the Bruce label just because he wears the same colours. He's better than Prusy, and you can bring him in.
Now, Yaron has this one. Have Yo and Keys become relevant? What do we think about Keys?
Yeah, that's a very good question as well. I think in the midfield role, he's an absolute bargain, and he had about 24 CBAs on the weekend. So the midfield role was there. He was tagging,
was it a tagging
once again.
role?
It was putting a lot of pressure on Rowell,
especially
around stoppage and things like that, because he is a bit of a clearance king. He was still as mad as a cut snake, running forward, just get the ball forward at all costs.
30% efficiency.
Yeah, and he's that 30% must have come from his 2 goals. Don't know what he did with the rest of them, but he is a surge forward player if they're happy with that. My fear is that any given week they don't rock up with such a negative mindset to tag someone in the middle. And
feels
just
like
back
he hasn't had to do that
if,
for a while.
No,
like it's been a long time since he's had to play that in a game.
So what's he done that 2 weeks in a row?
Yep.
Do they continue with it?
They were his conditions up there as well, though.
They were.
Darwin.
So it is a play if you can get a sniff that he's playing midfield again. If he's going 24 CBAs this week, he will smash what his price suggests he would score, I think.
Yep. Thoughts on Brad Crouch? Could you go there as a player coming off the bye?
I forgot about Brad. He's been too annoying. No,
I don't think you can.
No, nor do I.
Is it time for Andrew here to get on Himmelberg? So he is playing defensive.
Yeah, another one who I would happily launch into if he just had his bye. I don't know if he's someone I'm willing to get in to then have a bye. But I see what you're seeing, and I like him. I'm always a fan of the Berg when he's down back. Whether he stays there remains to be seen.
We've talked a lot about guys that have come off a bye, and that's who to get in. But what about how many players? Like, can you keep just going into guys that have got a bye coming up? Are you okay with doing that?
Yeah. They just have more criteria they need to pick for me. They need to be super underpriced and have a really low break even that I don't want to miss out and have to pay $100K more for them. If it's someone that you're paying full price for, I'm not even considering bringing him in for a buy.
Angus has got a snap here. Cheers for telling me Simpkin over Sheed. I reckon that's all on V8.
Yeah, that's an injury prediction that you just
He hasn't
can't.
been great either, though.
Who's that?
Simpkin.
No, but what was it? 1 week?
Yeah.
1 week thing? That was last week, that question, I reckon. And, yeah, that sucks because Sheed absolutely killed it. But, yeah, you can't predict an injury.
Rightio. Sam's got this one. Zeebel's going out. Who comes in? Ryan, Young or Stewart? So could you get Stewart even though he's got the bye?
Yeah,
He's who you'd want out of the three.
Yeah, so I reckon it's a unique thing bringing in a bye player, but he is someone you want for the second half of the year. And if you've got like 20 players this week, he's clearly the pick of those three. So I'd be going Stewart.
Tim's got Timmy T. Snout. Discuss.
Yeah, this year he is doing enough to be snouted. Yeah. He just needs to probably string it together.
We'll talk about this time next year.
Yeah, for sure.
It's about where that would come down.
But yeah, he's tails in the ring.
Now he's got the opportunity.
Yeah.
Not getting played in the forward line and
everything us fantasy coaches knew for years.
The best 151st player in the league.
Sure is. He'll break that 150 by the end of the season.
Lauren traded him gone. Now, is it crazy to trade him to Briggs this week for cash generation?
Not crazy.
That's a lot of coin you'd be making.
Yep, not crazy. Do it. He's
Blake,
actually got a better role. That's the thing.
Blake must have some coin to do this. Nice work, mate. We're ticking off Chesser, Sharp and Mitchell out. That's Seamus Mitchell for Brayshaw, Sarong and Phoenix Spicer. Tick, 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 tick.
That is the swaggiest messaging I've ever seen. That is epic trading.
It is.
Wow, your team just got really good. Good on you.
The question here, Tim's got, should I bring in Andy Brayshaw or Lachie Neale for Will Ashcroft? And yes, it's a no-brainer to bring in Brayshaw, but it's $150K.
It is a lot of money, but it's one of the times where I'm willing to spend up. Because over the course of the rest of the year, I think that'll pay for itself.
Should.
I think so. That's what I would do.
Is Chase Jones to Keys a good option? Keeps your buy structure intact.
It does. I'm going to say yes because Chase isn't pumping out big hundreds, but nor will Keys if he returns to the forward line. But it's worth the risk, I think.
Is Phoenix Spicer a good trade here from Jake? I guess at that price, and he's coming off a 59, I think it was.
I'll change the wording. He's an option.
He's an option
not
for
a
that.
Good option.
Obviously, knowing that he's got a buy coming up, but that's another one I think he can do. Is a rookie with that round 15 buy is okay, but there's just so many. people have got a lot of players on them, especially forwards.
Yeah.
They're the big ones that are the issues.
All the good ones.
Is it too late to get Merrett? No, but I think you just need to target him off the bye.
Yeah, that's the problem. You're spot on there,
With premiums, you just got to target them off
if
their
you are
bye.
paying up, you don't want to pay up to get someone who's got a 0 incoming.
Fisher can't split Sinclair and Neale. Sinclair fits the team better, but Neale is playing well. Who is the better option?
Yeah, I'm with you that Neale is the better option out of the two. I am going to stick with Neale out of those two. Neale's he's a genuine premium and has been for a long time.
Yeah. Happiest first man, trading cash cows, 3 of them, to get 2 rookies and Neale. I'm hoping it's a good move. It's almost where I'm feeling and where I'm at a little bit because I don't love the premium options coming in. Like Neale, I'll tick that, but I'm not in love with it.
No. It's the 2 big boys from Freo, which are they're the standout trade targets, and Goulden.
Yep.
Then it's Warner, and then you're looking at Steele and Sinclair and all them, I reckon.
Yeah. It's just a really tricky week. And if you're doing that with your cash cows, like just guys that needed to be traded during the buys, and that's okay. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Where are we going here? A lot of these questions that we have sort of answered. Could Neale be a top 8 mid for Dan?
No, but he could be in the mix.
So would you go Sarong ahead of him?
Well and truly.
I mean,
I'd pay up for it.
Pay up for it. Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. If you can scrape together the coin to get someone who's in the top 8, you do it. If you have to settle for second best and it's someone as good as Lachie Neale, well, you don't stress about that and you do it as well.
Justin's got this one here at Aussie Samurai. Fast forwarding to round 15, I have 7 premiums with the buy. Even if I can get to 18 and still hold all 7, I will be fielding some very ordinary players and will have a very ordinary score. What is the maximum number of premiums you're aiming to hold in any buy round? We don't have a lot of choice here. I still would go through with the process of hold your premiums all the way through the buys, even if it means that you're having a poorer week, because there's still 8 weeks, 9 weeks to go after the buys.
Yeah, you don't want to let it. I'd rather wear a bad week.
Yep.
I'll say a bad week and hold them all and have a good team coming out of it. However, there are extreme circumstances. So how many premiums did he say he had? 7. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, you can't call Sheasel a premium. So I've got 8.
Yeah, right.
So I will need to be willing to pull the trigger on one of them, I reckon. And I never trade my premiums through buy rounds, but there's extreme circumstances in round 15 for a lot of people, and someone might have to go. So it'll be the worst of a very good bunch.
Wow.
Yes, I know.
It's very interesting. That's actually made me think a little bit twice there as well. See, I'm good. Like, I've only got 4 premium players on that
You'll
round
make
15.
a huge leap on a lot of people that round.
Which might actually change some of my trading strategy here. Fife I was considering, but maybe I just go down to Phoenix Spicer and have some cash to keep building my team better.
That can be your attack round.
Because this week, so how are we looking this week? We'll wrap it up now.
God, I don't know what I've done. I don't look good on any buy round. It's a bizarre situation. Like, I should sail through all right with, 19 players a week, but I just don't know where. You usually have one good one at least.
So I'll have 21 this week.
Just mediocre every week.
And,
What do you got? 21?
21. And really my only... And I guess part of it is, who are your best players that aren't playing this week? Stewart, for everyone.
Yeah.
Matt Rowell, I can't even call him one of my best players. So it's not much. Like, most people would be going, this will be a strong week. This will be a high-scoring week.
Yeah. So
that 1,800 we scored, if that's not 19-2, then we've done some bad things.
So I will have 20 this week, but it should be a stronger 20 than I had last week. And that's so I'm in an interesting situation there. So I'll have 20 with 2 on the bench that I don't have access to. But it's the 2 defenders that I will have holes. Yeah. You looking all right, Cows? You can show me with your hands if you like. You got 20 as well.
20.
Yeah.
Well, 0-2 that looked like. On my
Oh, God,
way.
he's only got 2. It's back in the vest.
Well, V8, one thing that you have done well on this podcast is not annoyed me that much, which is a positive, I reckon. And the only other thing that I will say, you've got your notes done for the captains this week. You'd be well ahead. Oh, you haven't? Have you got one?
He's got his full A4 page set up.
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, your voice hasn't got better this
No,
time.
it hasn't.
It's fair to say there's a high likelihood you have whatever I had.
Dom Sheed. Dom Sheed over here,
Yeah,
boys.
it's actually a bit of karma for how you treated
It is.
Sheedy,
It
I
is.
reckon.
100%.
Well, since he turned robot mode, he's been really good. So you're going to make a charge.
Hey, by expert.
It's nothing like Dom Sheed then, I reckon. Have you found a good one for us?
I have.
Okay. Hint? We'll find out more on Thursday night for our live stream for 6:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time.
No hint.
No hint.
No.
Just, yeah.
Who scored the most? Oh, you like Zach Merrett this week, don't you? Yep.
He's up there.
That's how you do it, isn't it?
Yep.
Right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for putting up with us for this episode. Hopefully, we'll be back on, later Monday night for the wrap-up of round 13. Good luck. Make sure you stick by afl.com.au and the AFL Live official app because we'll have heaps of content going through there to help you get set up for the round 13 bye and future buys. And especially, as we mentioned before, our live stream on Thursday night. Be watching that on all the platforms, also on Facebook as well. Follow us all on social media. Cal will be able to write more than speak, so we'll get all that going. Thanks for tuning in. See ya.